My ex broke up with me for the dumbest reason after I supported him for years, but he forgot the house is in my name, and now he's living in a CAR. Let me explain. Sam never worked. I paid for everything while he chased unrealistic dreams. After he dumped me, he acted like the house was his. Now, he's homeless and I'm here living my best life. Guess who's still paying all the bills? Not him. Karma's a beautiful thing. 6 years. That's how long I've been with Sam. My name's Daniel. I'm 32 and live in a townhouse just outside Raleigh, North Carolina. If you'd asked me a year ago, I would have told you Sam and I were solid. Not perfect, but we made it work. At least, I thought we did. We met when I was 26, right after I'd gotten promoted at my firm. Sam was a whirlwind, funny, charming, always coming up with big ideas. I was the planner, the realist. It made sense at first. We balanced each other. Or so I believed. Somewhere in that first year, Sam had the idea to start a podcast about queer love and personal growth. I paid for the equipment, the soundproofing panels, even the logo design. He recorded exactly 6 episodes. Then he was on to dropshipping. Print-on-demand t-shirts for cat lovers, he told me one night while we were lying in bed. He spent 3 months building a Shopify store and about $400 of my money on ads. Nothing sold. After that, he tried freelance graphic design. He had talent, I'll give him that, but no patience. He'd take on a client, get bored halfway through, and ghost them. I got tired of fielding angry messages on his behalf. Meanwhile, I was working a full-time job, paying the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries. I managed the budget, made the appointments, cleaned the house. I cooked most nights, too, because if I didn't, we'd be eating frozen waffles and boxed mac and cheese. I never made a big deal about it. I told myself it was just a phase, that he was finding himself. But 6 years is a long damn phase. At first, I thought he appreciated what I did. He'd thank me after dinner or compliment the way I folded the laundry. But over time, even those little gestures disappeared. It was like he'd decided my role was to keep the ship afloat while he wandered around chasing every new breeze. Lately, he'd been acting different, distant. He'd get this far away, look during conversations and say stuff like, I just feel like I need space to grow. The first time he said that, I didn't even know how to respond. Space? We lived together. We shared a bed. We'd build a life, or at least I thought we had. He kept bringing it up, space, freedom, redefining himself. At first, I figured it was a phase, like all the others. But in the back of my mind, something started to itch. A sense that maybe this time, it wasn't just another failed project. Maybe I was the phase. I'd always believed love was about showing up. And for 6 years, I showed up. Paid the bills. Covered his dreams. Ignored the part of me that was slowly getting tired, then bitter, then numb. I thought that made me strong. I thought that meant we were building something real. But I was wrong. I was building a house on a foundation that Sam had never bothered to lay. And one night soon, that house was going to collapse. I could feel it. And when it did, it wouldn't be slow. It would be fast, brutal, and final. I came home from work on a Wednesday. It was raining, and I remember because I stepped in a puddle as I got out of the car and cursed under my breath. My socks were soaked. I was carrying takeout, Thai from the place Sam liked, thinking maybe we could talk. He'd been so quiet lately, and I figured a nice dinner might get him to open up. He was already home, lounging on the couch, wearing those threadbare pajama pants he never bothered to throw out. The TV was on, but he wasn't watching, just staring off into space with a half-empty can of seltzer in his hand. Hey, I said, dropping the bag on the table. That your favorite, pad CEW, extra tofu. He looked over, gave a tight smile. Thanks. We ate in silence. I tried to ask how his day was. He mumbled something about listening to a podcast and reorganizing his files. When we were done, I started cleaning up the containers and stacking them neatly in the trash. That's when he said it. I don't think this is working anymore. I turned slowly, thinking I misheard. What? This, he said, gesturing vaguely between us. Us. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it felt surreal. Are you serious? Sam nodded. I still on the TV like he didn't want to look at me. I've been thinking about it for a while. I stood there, water from my socks soaking into the kitchen mat. You've been thinking about it, but didn't say anything? I didn't want to hurt you. That line, like telling me now, out of nowhere, was somehow kinder. I leaned against the counter. My hands were shaking a little, though I kept them folded. You said you needed space. I gave you space. I picked up every slack you dropped. I've been holding this thing together while you, what? Rebranded yourself every 6 months? He flinched. That's not fair, isn't it? I snapped. You think I haven't noticed? The projects, the excuses, the bills piling up while I keep paying for everything. Sam crossed his arms. His tone sharpened. You always throw that in my face. Like money is the only thing that matters. That's not what I said. You act like I don't contribute. But maybe if you weren't so obsessed with being in control, I'd have space to do something real. I blinked. In control? I paid for this house. I pay every bill. I buy the groceries and the shampoo and the goddamn toilet paper. If I'm in control, it's because you've left me no choice. He stood up, jaw clenched. You don't clean enough. You leave your shoes in the hallway. I'm always the one doing dishes. I stared at him. You're joking, right? Silence. You haven't worked a job in over a year. Your last freelance client never paid because you forgot to send the invoice. I asked you to take out the trash last week and you said, I'll get to it when I'm not overwhelmed. Sam didn't respond. Just turned away and picked up his seltzer like the conversation was exhausting him. Then he said it. Casually. Like it was a passing thought. Maybe you should find somewhere else to stay for a while. That stopped me cold. Excuse me. He shrugged. I just think it'd be better for both of us if we had some distance. I took a slow breath. You want me to leave the house? Just until we figure out next steps. Our house, I said carefully. That I pay for. That's in my name. Sam blinked, like that was somehow new information. I felt the bottom fall out of my stomach. That's when I understood. He'd already checked out. This wasn't a discussion. He wasn't confused or torn up. He'd made his decision. And in his mind, I was already gone. I looked around at the place we built, or, rather, the place I'd built and he'd occupied. The throw pillows I picked out. The art prints I hung. The smart thermostat I installed because he said he wanted to go greener. He didn't want a partner anymore. He wanted the perks without the person. You really think you get to decide who leaves? I asked quietly. Sam didn't answer. And that was all I needed to know. The first couple days after the breakup conversation were awkward but quiet. Sam didn't push me to leave again, and I didn't bring it up. We moved around the house like awkward roommates, me trying to stay out of his way, him acting like he didn't notice the tension thick in every room. But then, he got comfortable. Too comfortable. It started with him leaving his dishes everywhere, on the coffee table, on the bathroom counter, even in the damn hallway once. I came home from work one evening and found an empty mug and a cereal bowl sitting on top of my folded laundry on the dining chair. I stared at it for a full minute before putting them in the sink, still warm from breakfast he hadn't bothered to clean. Then came the furniture rearranging. I walked into the spare room, what we had always used for storage, and found him measuring the walls. He had his phone in one hand, some home office Pinterest board pulled up, and he was mumbling to himself about maximizing the creative energy. What's going on in here? I asked. Sam looked up like I'd interrupted something sacred. I'm turning this into my office. Your office? I repeated. Yeah, I need a place to focus. The living room's too noisy, and honestly, I think I'll be more productive with a dedicated space. I looked around at the boxes stacked along the wall, old holiday decorations, a broken guitar amp, 3 bins of failed project supplies. This is the room where your podcast mics are collecting dust. He just smiled, as if that proved his point. Exactly. Time to finally get serious. Right. Serious. Then there was the tour. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I had just gotten back from running errands when I heard voices in the living room. I walked in and froze. There was a woman sitting on the couch, a woman I'd never seen before, sipping iced tea from one of our glasses like she owned the place. Sam was beside her, animated, smiling wider than I'd seen him in months. Oh, hey, he said when he saw me. Daniel, this is Laura. Laura stood up, extending a hand. Hi. Sam's told me so much about the place. It's gorgeous. I shook her hand, too stunned to respond. Sam turned toward her like a game show host. Let me give you the grand tour. And I watched, speechless, as he walked her through my house, pointing out features like he'd picked them out himself. That's where I like to relax in the evenings, he said, gesturing to the armchair I'd bought on credit when we first moved in. And this is the room I'm converting into my creative studio. Still a work in progress, of course. Laura nodded, impressed. It's such a cool space. You're lucky to have this. Oh, I know, Sam said breezily. It's been a long time coming. I stood there, stunned. He didn't acknowledge me again. He didn't even flinch as he pretended I was just some guy loitering in the background of his home. Later that night, I found him in the kitchen, humming to himself while eating leftover curry out of the container. What was that? I asked. He looked up, spoon halfway to his mouth. What? The tour. Laura. He shrugged. She's a friend. I wanted to show her the place. Did you forget whose name is on the mortgage? His smile faltered. Don't be petty. Petty. I stepped forward, trying to keep my voice level. You're walking people through my house like it's yours. Giving speeches about your future office like you're hosting an open house. Sam dropped the spoon in the sink with a loud clatter. I live here too, Daniel. It's not just your space. Actually, it is, I said. You've never paid a single cent toward the mortgage. Or utilities. Or insurance. He rolled his eyes. Here we go again with the martyr act. I'm not being a martyr, I said. I'm being realistic. He leaned against the counter. You think you're so superior just because you have a paycheck and a filing cabinet. No, I said calmly. I think I'm the legal owner of this house, and you're the guy acting like he's hosting Selling Sunset Editions. That night, he sent me a text, while we were in the same house, mind you, suggesting I should start looking for a new place sooner rather than later. He even offered to help me pack. I didn't respond. Instead, I scrolled through the mortgage papers on my phone. My name, my loan, my house. Let him keep playing landlord. He was going to find out the truth soon enough. It happened on a Tuesday morning. Sam was still asleep, sprawled out on my side of the bed like he'd earned the right to be there. I stood in the hallway watching him snore with his mouth open, drooling onto my pillow, and something in me just clicked. I was done. I made the call around 9 a.m. The locksmith showed up by 11. He was a quiet guy, polite, didn't ask questions. Just nodded when I said I needed all the locks changed, fast. While he worked, I started gathering Sam's things. Not everything, just enough to make a point. His clothes from the bedroom. His laptop. That stack of sketchbooks he never used but insisted were essential for his creative process. I lined it all up by the front door, neat and calm. I didn't touch his stuff in the spare room, even though every part of me wanted to dump it on the lawn. I still had some self-control left. By the time the locksmith was finished, Sam was still asleep. Typical. I waited. It was around 1 p.m. when I finally heard him stirring. Floorboards creaking, footsteps dragging. He walked into the living room rubbing his eyes, wearing my old college hoodie like it was his. "Hey," he mumbled. "Why's all my stuff out here?" I looked up from the dining table, where I was calmly sipping coffee. "You're moving out today." He blinked. "What?" "You need to be out by the end of the day," I said. "I've already changed the locks." Sam laughed, actually laughed. "You're joking." "No," I said, standing. "I'm not." His smile faltered. "You can't just kick me out." I nodded toward the front door. "Legally, I can. The house is in my name. You're not on the deed, the loan, or any of the bills. You've been living here rent-free for years. You're a guest. And the guest pass just expired." He stood there, frozen. His mouth opened, then shut again. "You're being ridiculous." "No," I said quietly. "I'm being done." That's when Laura showed up. She strolled in like she'd done it 100 times before. She was holding a cold brew and smiling, probably expecting another casual hangout. When she saw the boxes and Sam standing there pale and speechless, her smile wilted. "What's going on?" she asked. I didn't even look at her. I kept my eyes on Sam. "You should explain it to her." "Daniel, come on," Sam said, now sounding desperate. "Where am I supposed to go?" "I don't know," I said. "Maybe your next business venture can include a couch. You can't just throw me out like trash." "You're not trash," I said, grabbing the hoodie from his chest and yanking it off. "You're just no longer my problem." He stood there in his wrinkled t-shirt, clutching his laptop like it was the only thing keeping him grounded. "I have nowhere to go." "You should have thought about that before you tried to push me out of my own home." Laura shifted uncomfortably by the door. Should I wait outside?" "You're good," I said, still calm. "This won't take long." Sam's face flushed, and for a moment I thought he might try something, yell, throw a tantrum, beg. But instead, he just lowered his eyes and nodded. I held the door open. "Sam," I said as he passed, "next time you try to manipulate someone, make sure they don't hold the keys." He stepped outside without another word, arms full of his things. Laura followed behind, glancing back at me like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to say goodbye. I shut the door behind them. Then I locked it. Not just physically, emotionally. Finally. Completely. And for the first time in 6 years, the house felt like mine again. Quiet, clean, and free. It was the following weekend when I got a call from Adam. We weren't super close, but we'd hung out enough that I trusted him. He was one of the few mutual friends Sam and I had, someone who'd seen our relationship from the sidelines but never really gotten involved. "Hey, Daniel," Adam said, a little hesitant. "Do you have a minute?" "Yeah. What's up?" He sighed. "Look, I didn't want to get in the middle of anything, but I think you should know what Sam's been saying." I leaned back in my chair, already bracing myself. "Go on." "He's telling people you kicked him out with no warning. That he was the one paying the mortgage. That you took advantage of him while he was trying to support you." I blinked. "You're kidding." "I wish I was." "He said you were freeloading off him for years. That you spent all his money, and when he finally stood up for himself, you locked him out." I laughed. It came out loud and sharp, like a bark. "Jesus." Adam lowered his voice. "Some people believe him, man. Or at least they're confused. I've gotten a few messages asking what really happened." "What really happened?" I repeated, more to myself than to him. "You know what? Let them ask." After we hung up, I sat with it for a while. Part of me wanted to let it go. But another part, an angrier, sharper part, was done playing the quiet, reasonable one. So I pulled out the receipts. Literally. I opened a group chat that still included a handful of mutual friends and acquaintances, some of whom I hadn't spoken to in months. Then I started uploading screenshots. Mortgage statements with my name. Utility bills. Bank transfers showing I'd covered rent and groceries. Photos of packages addressed to Sam that I'd paid for. And then I added one final message. Since Sam's out here rewriting history, I figured I'd help everyone out with the facts. I paid for everything. The house is mine. The bills were mine. The debt was mine. He lived here for free while chasing pipe dreams I funded. I didn't take advantage of him. He took advantage of me. And when I finally had enough, I gave him the boot he earned. If anyone has questions, I'm happy to show more. Otherwise, I'd appreciate not being dragged into fiction. I hit send. Then I stared at my phone for a long time. One by one, messages started rolling in. Damn. I had no idea. I thought something was off about what he said. Thanks for clearing it up. That makes a lot more sense. No one apologized directly. But the tone had shifted. The fake narrative was crumbling, and I could tell Sam was losing ground. Later that day, I walked into the spare room, his so-called office. I hadn't touched it since he left. The mess was still there. Old drawing pads, tangled cords, and an used mic stand leaning awkwardly in the corner. I took a deep breath. Then I started packing. I boxed up everything he'd left behind, his unopened meditation books, the ring light he never used, even the little vision board he tacked to the wall and forgot about. I loaded it all into my car. The next morning, I drove to a local shelter that accepted donations. A guy helped me unload, and when he asked what it all was, I just said, somebody else's future. Then I drove to Goodwill and dropped off the rest, his gaming chair, the broken desk lamp, a pile of thrifted art prints he once claimed were vintage minimalist. I didn't tell Sam. I didn't warn him. I didn't owe him that. I was done carrying the remnants of his failures. As I drove home, windows down, I felt lighter. Not because of the stuff I'd let go of, but because of what I finally reclaimed. My name, my truth, and my life. A few weeks passed. The quiet was nice. No more dishes left in the sink. No more cryptic text about needing space to evolve. For the first time in years, my house didn't feel like a job I was failing at. It felt like home. Then I ran into Lucy. I was grabbing groceries at the Harris Teeter near my place when she spotted me in the produce aisle. Lucy was another mutual friend, closer to Sam than me, but still friendly enough that we'd had drinks a few times. She walked up holding a bag of spinach and a worried expression. Hey, Daniel. Hey, Lucy, I said, genuinely surprised. Been a minute. Yeah, she said. So, listen, I didn't want to make things weird, but I feel like you should know, Sam's still out there talking. A lot. I raised an eyebrow. Still lying, you mean? Lucy nodded. He's saying you kicked him out of his own house. That you tricked him into putting everything in your name, then waited for the right time to blindside him. He told people you manipulated him, that you used him for emotional support while secretly plotting to take everything. I almost laughed again, but there wasn't even humor left in it anymore. It was just sad. Lucy lowered her voice. He's even telling his family you stole from him, that he built that house with you from the ground up, and now he has nothing. I let out a long breath. Of course he is. I just thought you should know, she said. A lot of people are starting to question him. His story keeps changing. But he's persistent. Yeah, I said. That sounds like Sam. That night, I opened my laptop and typed up a message. Not to Sam. I was done speaking to him. This was for the people still caught in his web, especially his family. I sent a message to his sister, Mara, and CC'd his mom. It was short and to the point. I attached copies of the mortgage documents, utility bills, and screenshots of Sam asking me for money over the years. Then I added this. I understand Sam is struggling, but the stories he's telling are false. He never paid for the house. He never covered the bills. He never supported me financially or otherwise. I did everything. I supported him while he tried and failed at one thing after another. When I finally set boundaries, he spun a narrative to make himself the victim. I have no interest in a public feud. I just want the truth to be clear. I wish him well, but I'm done being his scapegoat. I didn't expect a reply, but I got one. From his mother. She wrote, Daniel, thank you for sending this. I'm so sorry you've had to deal with all of this. I had a feeling Sam wasn't being honest, but I didn't know the extent. We've tried talking to him. He won't listen. He's been telling his sister that he still has a claim to the house, that it was stolen from him. It's heartbreaking. We're trying to help him, but he's still stuck in this fantasy that the world owes him something. I just wanted you to know that we believe you, and I'm truly sorry for what he's put you through. I stared at the message for a long time. I never thought I'd get closure from Sam, but hearing it from his mom, someone who once smiled at me over holiday dinners, who once called me the glue that holds him together, it meant something. She saw the truth now, and maybe, eventually, everyone else would too. For now, that was enough. It was a rainy Saturday when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. I'd been on the couch all morning with coffee and a book, enjoying the rare peace of not having to answer to anyone. I figured it was a delivery. But when I opened the door, it was Sam's mom. She stood there holding a tote bag, rain soaking the edges of her cardigan. I blinked, startled. Mrs. Hargrove? Hi, Daniel, she said, eyes tired. Can we talk for a minute? I let her in. She'd always been polite, even warm, but we hadn't spoken face to face since the breakup. She walked slowly into the living room, looking around like she expected Sam to appear from the hallway any second. I won't stay long, she said, sitting down carefully. I just thought you should hear this from me before it spreads any further. I sat across from her, curious but cautious. She sighed. Sam made a GoFundMe. I stared. A what? A fundraising page. He's telling people he was manipulated, that he lost everything, and now he's trying to raise money to take legal action and rebuild his life. She rolled her eyes, something I'd never seen her do before. He even posted a photo of the house. Your house. I shook my head in disbelief. You've got to be kidding. He wrote this whole sob story about how you took advantage of him, she said. He's claiming you promised him half the house, that you emotionally abused him, and then kicked him out onto the street with nothing but a backpack. I couldn't help it, I laughed. A dry, exhausted laugh. He's raised almost $200, she added, her tone sharp with annoyance. And not from strangers. From people in our family. I rubbed my temples. This is beyond delusional. She nodded. That's why I'm here. I wanted you to know that we're cutting him off. My head snapped up. Wait, what? We've tried to help, she said, her voice firm now. We gave him a place to stay. We gave him money. We defended him, even when we weren't sure what to believe. But now, he's lost the last bit of good faith we had left. I stayed quiet, letting her words settle. She reached into her tote and pulled out a manila envelope. This is the job offer we're giving him. It's in Arizona. A cousin of mine runs a warehouse there. It's full-time. Pays decently. Nothing glamorous, but it's real work. I took the envelope, even though I had no plans to open it. And you think he'll go? Her expression turned sad. He doesn't have a choice. We're done paying his rent. Done covering for him. If he wants to keep living in his fantasy world, he can do it on his own dime. She stood, straightening her rain-soaked sweater. I'm sorry, Daniel. For everything. You didn't deserve any of it. I walked her to the door. Before she stepped out, she turned to me one last time. He keeps saying you stole something from him, she said. But I think we both know the truth. You gave him more than anyone ever should have. And the only thing you took back was your self-respect. She left without another word. As I stood in the doorway watching the rain fall, I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't revenge. It wasn't triumph. It was the quiet relief of knowing I didn't have to defend myself anymore. Even his own mother had stopped believing the lies. And Sam? He was finally going to have to live in the real world. One that didn't reward fantasy or freeloaders. It's been almost 2 months since Sam left. The house is quieter now. Lighter. I didn't realize how much space he'd taken up, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally. It was like I'd been holding my breath for 6 years and didn't even know it until I finally let go. I've been reclaiming the place bit by bit. I repainted the bedroom a soft gray, got new bedsheets, tossed out the crusty old blanket Sam insisted was vintage. I started sleeping better, eating better. I even signed up for a woodworking class on Tuesday nights, something I'd wanted to do for years but never had the time. The truth is, I didn't have the energy. Not when I was constantly pouring it into someone who only ever took. Now, my energy is mine again. The fallout from Sam's GoFundMe scam died out pretty quickly. After his mother pulled the plug on his sob story, people stopped donating. A few even asked for refunds. Someone messaged me a screenshot of the page being taken down, along with a snarky caption. Guess that dream died too. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. One afternoon, I got a message from Erica, an old friend we'd both known back in the early days. She'd taken Sam's side at first, believed the lies, even reposted his fundraiser. But her message surprised me. Daniel, I owe you an apology. I didn't see what was really happening. I believed what he said because I wanted to. Because it was easier than admitting I'd misjudged the whole relationship. But I know now. I'm sorry. I hope you're doing okay. I read it twice before responding. Thanks, Erica. I'm okay. Actually, I'm better than I've been in a long time. And I meant it. Because somewhere in the mess of that breakup, and the lies, the manipulation, the drama, I found something I didn't expect to recover. Me. I'd spent years compromising, dimming myself, carrying a relationship that was more burden than bond. And for what? To be told I wasn't enough? That I didn't clean enough or contribute enough while I paid the mortgage and cooked dinner and kept our entire lives from falling apart. No more. I've learned that love isn't about rescuing someone. It's not about proving your worth to someone who can't even see it. It's about balance, partnership, respect, and boundaries, ones I'll never blur again. Some days, I still think about Sam. Not in a longing way, but in that detached, distant way you think about a weird dream you once had. It felt real at the time. It consumed you. But when you wake up, you realize how absurd it was. How much sense it never made. That was Sam, A bad dream I finally woke up from. Last week, I sat on the porch with a beer in one hand and my phone in the other. Max, my younger cousin, texted asking if I could help him figure out how to budget for college. I smiled, told him I'd help him build a spreadsheet. That's the kind of energy I want to give now, real, useful, honest. Not wasted on people who think love is a free ride. As the sun dipped below the trees, I leaned back and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not just the absence of conflict, but the presence of something stronger. Self-respect. I'm not perfect, but I'm free. And for the first time in a long, long time. That's enough.